We want a dynamic trade relationship, but we want one that serves American workers and businesses and that's in our interest. And in order for that to happen, there have to be some changes.
Thank you, Gina Raimondo, U.S. Commerce Secretary. While the Biden administration is trying to ease tensions between the U.S. and China, in part due to our country's dependence on major resources from the Chinese Communist Party.
But as China sees an economic slowdown, could we turn the tables? Let's go off the wall to learn more about the intricate and intertwined relationship between the United States and China. Pete, China is our they're our top supplier of any import goods here in the United States. They account for 16% of our total imports.
Yeah, and part of the reason this is the case is that Washington, D.C., over multiple decades made a bet. If we increase our trade liberalization, we open up our economy, it's going to lead to political transformation inside China. Maybe we'll get a more friendly government. Instead, China's used this trade to enrich themselves, and the Chinese Communist Party has gotten more powerful internally and externally as well. They built their whole economy on selling us cheap stuff, which is why U.S. imports continue to go up 6% last year.
We were happy to buy cheap stuff. Our trade deficit from China, almost $383 billion. And look at the increase, an increase of 8.3%. It was a mutually beneficial relationship on its surface, one that serves both parties. We need cheap products. They need cheap jobs. They need to lift a billion Chinamen out of poverty. We want to be able to go to Target and buy whatever we need.
Tons of consumers that want to buy stuff at the lowest. It's comparative advantage in economics. You do what you do best and export it. Except we've learned so much more about the goals and ambitions of the Chinese Communist Party and their ability to steal intellectual property from us, steal our best ideas, and try to copy them over there.
And the price of then dependence upon China, because it wasn't relegated to cheap electronics or T-shirts at Target. It went deeper. Look at some of these major imported minerals from China. This largely goes into electronics and computer parts, things that are very vital to the American economy. These are 100%. We are 100% that China is the primary source of the United States on something like graphite.
The United States was 95% or more reliant on imports from 13 different minerals, with China being responsible for half of them. How about pharmaceuticals?
Remember that COVID.
Under COVID, something like arsenic, which you don't want in your water, but you might want in your medicine, 100% dependent on China for those materials at this point.
Gallium is semiconductors, LEDs, thermometers, 100% reliant.
I mean, think about that. What's semiconductors? You said electronic. Forget about I was going to say VCRs. Forget about whatever electronics you want in your house. What about if you want power and the ability to generate it? I mean, our power grid, considering what the left wants to do, power everything on it, 100% of the primary source for materials we need for semiconductors are sourced in China. So
our cars,
stare us down somewhere. Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Electronics, clean energy, defense technologies, rare earth materials, all dependent upon China. Now, here is something that is very forward-looking. It's been predicted for quite some time, the better part of a decade, but very forward-looking. Well, we're dependent upon China, but who is China? Like, what is their economy? It's been described as a paper tiger, Pete.
It's a massive economy, but it's also command control. So the CCP, the top officials in China dictate what's built where. They've got an oligarch system, all of that as well. And so you have giant cities built up out of nowhere. And the images are online. You can see huge housing complexes completely empty.
Right.
Because they've overbuilt based on a giant bargain that the people are going to move from the countryside to the city centers and be a part of an industrial revolution, much of which has happened. But there's a lot of dissatisfaction amongst rank-and-file Chinese, too, who don't want to be a part of that.
They're facing deflation, a decline in foreign investment. And this is a scary statistic. It always is. Look at this, 21% unemployment in the youth. Like, how does that manifest in the future?
It's not what it's supposed to look like, considering, by the way, they have a lot less youth than they used to because of their one China policy, which was in effect for decades. The bell curve of age in China is backwards. There are way more old people that they have to provide for than young people to work, and they still can't even put them to work. Compare that to the United States. Age 15 to 24, we have an 8% to 9% unemployment rate.
If this economy falls apart, there's two ways out for China. It's an overthrow of the government, or it's an external war.
I was just going to say that. External war is another option as well. So let's look at the year-over-year change of quarterly GDP. You see a dip for China during COVID when they locked everybody down, a rebound. And I don't know what to make of this line right here, Will. This is a very straight line.
Just solid reporting.
Just solid
Chinese economic reporting. Everything is fine.
Everything's going according to plan here until we gave a virus to the whole world.
Let's take a look at this last wall really quickly. This is the attitude in the United States of various generations towards buying products in China. You can see favorable view of U.S. and labor parts in blue, favorable view of buying stuff from China in red, baby boomers at the bottom, Gen Z at the top.
41% of young people in America are saying, hey, let's just buy our stuff from China?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, where are they getting their information from? TikTok?
Yeah.
I think they might be.
Take a look real quick at the share of the world GDP. United States, 15% of world GDP. China, 19%.
I think a big part of this is obviously China big and growing, but dynamics can change on the foreign stage really quickly. And just because they're big doesn't mean they will continue to grow. Frankly, hopefully their vulnerabilities get the best of them. Command economies don't work.
And be careful what you're tied to.
It's true.
Careful what you're tied to, U.S.
All right, coming